So welcome to another video. I'm going to talk to you about some finance stuff in this video that people have asked about in the past. Specifically a website and a tool called Property Partner. This is like a crowdfunding site where you can kind of invest money and buy shares in property. So if you are interested in kind of buying houses to rent out and stuff, and you don't want to kind of own the whole house, this is kind of an option to kind of get into that. So yeah, I'm going to talk to you about my experience for doing it for 2 years. Spoiler, I lost money. Okay, so I'm not a finance expert or a property expert or anything like that. But around three or so years ago, I started to kind of look more seriously into kind of what I do with my money and how I save it and how I try and get it to work for me. So hopefully in the future one day I don't need to work because the money is working for me. And one of the things in general that I was trying to aim for is to find something that can relatively consistently give me around 6% interest per year on my savings or investments. And there's obviously lots of different ways you can save and invest, but this specifically is going to be talking about this Property Partner website. So this isn't me slagging this site off. I think if you're interested in this kind of stuff, you should learn by experience, but also obviously learn from other people's experience as well. And so just this month I've sold all my investments in Property Partner. It wasn't that great because it just wasn't working for me and what I wanted, and wasn't getting the returns I wanted. So I only did this for 2 years, so not a really long term. But I wasn't happy with how it was going compared to some other investments. So I decided to kind of cash in and kind of go for that. So let me pop onto the computer screen. I'll quickly log in and show you what Property Partner looks like. Talk to you about briefly how it works, and then I'll kind of finish up with what my experience was of using the service. Okay, so this is it. This is me logged in to the Property Partner website. Obviously, I'll show you my current portfolio, which is nothing, because like I said, I've sold everything. But you can see a little bit here kind of how things worked. So I guess you're getting a bit of a pre-end spoiler. So you can see in total I put £3,400 in over the couple of years that I was doing this, and then when I decided to cash everything in, this is how much I got back. So about £250 odd pounds less than I put in overall. So I could have got more money than that if I'd kind of held out longer and kind of asked for more for my shares. One of the good things about this platform, it is very popular, so it is easy to get your money back when you want it, with the caveat obviously you may, like all investments, get less out of it than you put in. So let me kind of show you kind of a little bit around the system, how it works, and you can kind of work things out for yourself. So the way it works is, let's just get back to what we're doing. So they do different investment plans and ISAs now, which I never did. So this may be something that is worth looking into if it kind of meets your needs. I did everything myself and just tried to have a relatively diverse portfolio. But one of the reasons why I liked this was it had properties in my nearby area, and yeah, that was good. So I felt a bit more comfortable. It was a real tangible location. So let's just get to the grid view. So basically what you can see here is loads of different properties. So let me show you one of the ones that I had quite a lot of shares in. I actually was doing quite well this one. Most of the properties I went to were buildings that end up being student lets. So mostly in university towns, and the reason for that is, you're not being an expert, students always need somewhere to live. If the university looks like it's doing well, it means it's probably going to have continued growth and students going there. And if there's a good property, obviously students are going to live somewhere. So hopefully it was a good way to ensure reoccurring people paying rent. And in general, the actual rent thing wasn't a problem. The thing that became a problem was the value of the properties, and that was then reducing kind of the potential capital gains tax, and that was having a slight impact on the dividend, because then there'd be maintenance required and other things kind of happening, which then I think I just got unlucky with the properties I'd selected, but I was happy with those selections in terms of this experience that I was going through. Again, we'll just use this this location as an example. So you can see all sorts of information and pictures on the property, so you can kind of see what kind of condition it's in and help you make more informed buying decisions. There's surveyors' reports, certificates and title deeds, everything to prove that as an organisation these things are owned. One of the things on the scheme, obviously I wasn't doing it for long enough to allow for it. Every 5 years there's a 5-year anniversary where there's an option to kind of sell your shares and make a bit of a profit potentially on it. Then they have these dividend updates on kind of how things are going, what the costs are, what they have to pay for. All these things obviously have an impact on capital gains and the money that you're going to get from dividend payments. But this basically shows you that right now, if I wanted to buy something in here, what the current rates are, what the kind of provisional dividend yield would be each year, etc. And you can also place bids as well. So if you want to wait until the price per share comes down to say 70 pence, you could do that. Make a buy order, and it will kind of go through whenever someone decides to sell at that price. Here, if we look, here is the offers and the bids. So right now, if I had any of these that I wanted to sell, I want to sell them straight away. There's nearly £3,500 worth of money in a pot with people willing to pay 73 pence a share. But obviously there's people that are trying to cash out. So the highest one is someone's got £180. They want to sell for 80 pence a share. This large one here, 76 pence. There's loads there. So it's quite a busy marketplace. So if you want to get out, you can. Just depends how much money you want per share of the properties that you invested in. So anyway, lots of different properties, lots of different options. I think they're all in the UK, so I never remember seeing any outside the UK, but I wasn't particularly looking, but I'm pretty sure they're all UK based properties. So lots of variety. There's residential, there's also corporate stuff as well. So remember there was a place that was like a Sainsbury's local build. Sainsbury's rented this little building that was one of their local kind of corner shop type situations. I didn't invest in any of those. Like I said, I had a couple of residentials, and the majority of them were kind of student flats and apartments kind of thing. So I did this for a couple of years, and I was kind of a bit sceptical of how it would work, but I thought I'd give it a go, and I paid in, I think for about a year, I paid in quite regularly, about £150 a month, something like that. And each month then I would buy more shares in some different properties. I had about 10 properties at my maximum that had different amounts of shares in. But I noticed after a year, the dividends were never really that great. I was making some money, but it was very low percentage. Still better than you get on a standard savings account in a bank, which right now is like 0.2% or something. Obviously there are fixed rate ones that pay a little bit higher, 2.5% if you're lucky. But I decided that other investments that I was and am doing were getting me a better return, so I was going to stop investing in this platform, just leave the current money in there as it was, and stop paying in on a regular monthly basis and just see what happens. And then in about October, November time, there's a few properties that really weren't doing very well. So I sold all my shares in those, and then had about 4 left that I then reinvested even more shares in those, and just thought, let's see over a couple of months how things went. But it really wasn't performing in the way I wanted it to. So as you saw on that kind of opening screen, just going back to the portfolio. At the end of the day, I'd put £3,400 in there, and even if I'd left it and tried to cash out at a higher price per share, the system was still saying my value was like 3,300 something. So it still was down on my original investment because of the fees and all that kind of stuff when you first kind of buy into some of the shares. So I decided, worked out the numbers. What is it? How much am I making or losing? And basically over 2 years, it's like a 7% loss. So I decided that elsewhere I'm making a positive income, so I would move my money from here to there, and kind of cut my losses and put this down to experience. So I think if you are interested in getting into the property market and you have money you want to invest, definitely something to try. Perhaps those investment plans are a better way to do it. I haven't really looked into it to see kind of how they say they're going to guarantee it and how your money is locked in and stuff. But for me, property partner didn't work out. I made a 7% loss, which again, in the big scheme of things, isn't massive because it's a couple £100, but a couple £100 is a couple £100. So I'm going to put my money elsewhere. But that's my experience. If you've been using Property Partner, or perhaps you decide to use it, please leave comments below. Let me know how you've got on. Perhaps you're doing it in a different way and getting better returns. But I think if you are interested in property and you can't afford to buy a property outright and rent it out, or even take on the burden of doing that, even if you can afford it, then maybe this is something to consider. But obviously, as with all investments, you need to give it some time to see how it's working. Perhaps I need to give it longer than 2 and a bit years, but again, I wanted to cut my losses and move on to something else. Thanks for watching this video. A thumbs up would be really appreciated. If you're interested in other geek type videos, please consider subscribing to Spectrum Geeks. Why not also follow us on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. And before you leave, why don't you check out one of these other videos that may be of interest. Thanks again for watching.